Welcome to this deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're digging into a really interesting source. It's a workplace dialogue, originally used for language learning.
That's right. And it seems simple on the surface, an employee asks for an assistant.
Right.
But when you really look closely, it's full of practical English vocabulary. And, well, it gives us some insights into workplace dynamics, too.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack those useful phrases for this kind of common situation.
And understand the conversation's layers.
Yeah, and see what surprising things pop out from the source material you brought.
Okay, so we'll look at key phrases for things like resources, staffing, timing in business,
Oh, yeah, timing.
and everyday idioms like give me a hand.
Useful one.
We'll also explore what the source says about interns specifically, their role.
Mhm.
And interestingly, the source speculates on a kind of surprising ending to the dialogue. We'll get into that based only on what the source suggests, of course.
Okay, good. So think of this as a way to quickly get up to speed on this type of interaction. Maybe you need it for work or study, or you're just, curious.
Let's dive in. So the dialogue starts with the employee, his name's Tony,
Tony, right.
and he goes to his boss and asks pretty directly for an assistant.
Okay. Straightforward enough. What's the boss's reaction?
Well, the source says it's a polite no at first.
Ah, reasons.
Yeah, a few. First up, a lack of resources,
Resources. Okay, and the source defines that how?
specifically as money in this case. So it's a budget issue, primarily.
Got it. What else?
They also say the company is understaffed.
Which just means, as the source points out, they don't have enough people working there.
Exactly. So short on cash and short on people.
Common problem.
And then there's that phrase, the timing is just not right.
Ah, that one. It feels like it could mean anything. How does the source explain it?
It gives some good examples, actually. It's about the specific moment being inconvenient. Like, maybe you want to sell your house, but the market's bad. You'd say the timing's not right.
Okay.
Or thinking about having a baby when things are really unsettled. Same idea. It's about the current circumstances making it a bad time for that specific thing.
So it's very context dependent.
Precisely. And the boss links it to the overall bad economy, the risk involved in hiring.
Okay, so Tony gets the refusal, the reasons. Budget, staffing, timing. Does he just accept it?
Nope. He pivots. He suggests something else. Hiring an intern.
An intern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what does the source tell us about how interns are viewed in this context?
Well, it defines an intern as someone working for very low pay, maybe even no pay sometimes.
Right, the main focus is getting experience.
Exactly. And the source actually mentions some of the, well, maybe less glamorous perceptions.
Like what?
Like, interns just getting coffee or doing basic photocopying, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the stereotypical intern tasks.
But it also really stresses the positives.
Yeah.
The potential for gaining really good experience that could lead to other jobs. And crucially, the chance of getting hired by that same company.
Does it give any examples of that?
It does. It mentions an anecdote, someone who started as an intern and got a full-time job there after just 3 months.
Wow, okay, so that makes the possibility feel much more real.
Definitely. So Tony proposes this intern idea, and his reasoning is important. He says an intern could take some of the weight off my shoulders.
Great idiom. Meaning.
The source explains it clearly. Just helping with your work, taking some tasks away when you're overloaded.
Makes sense.
He also says the intern could give me a hand with projects.
Another good one. Just means helping out, right?
Yeah, simple assistance. The source gives examples like, helping carry boxes or with sales reports or even a suitcase. Just practical help.
Okay.
And here's the key part of his argument. Doing this would help keep our costs down.
Ah, addressing the resource issue.
Exactly. The source defines keep costs down as, actively trying not to spend too much, avoiding unnecessary expenses.
Like controlling how much paper you use for printing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the example they give. So Tony's pitch is help for me, experience for the intern, and it's cost-effective for the company.
Sounds like a solid counterproposal. How does the boss respond?
The boss listens and then says, I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Not a definite yes, but definitely better than the initial no.
Right. It feels like Tony's reasoning, especially the cost part, maybe shifted things a bit.
So what happens next? Do they get an intern?
Yes. The dialogue moves forward, and the boss introduces the new assistant, a guy named Adam.
Adam. Okay. And Tony?
Tony, the source says, is surprised.
Surprised. Why? He asked for help. He got help. What's the surprise?
Well, this is where the source offers some speculation. It suggests Tony might have been surprised because Adam is male.
Oh, so the source thinks Tony was expecting a female assistant or intern.
That's the speculation presented, yes. It suggests Tony might have had a preconceived idea, maybe even a biased one, that an intern should be a girl.
It's interesting. And the source explicitly frames this as speculation about Tony's thinking.
Yes, absolutely. It's presented as an interpretation of his reaction, not a stated fact within the dialogue itself.
Okay. Anything else contributing to the surprise, according to the source?
It mentions Adam has a deep voice.
A deep voice.
Yeah, and the source speculates this might imply Adam is, big or tall, and perhaps that physical presence also surprised Tony.
Hmm.
But the main thrust of the source's speculation seems to be around the gender expectation. It's definitely an intriguing interpretation of just the word surprised.
It really shows how much interpretation can be layered onto a simple interaction, even if it's just speculation based on the text.
Exactly. It opens up questions about expectations.
Before we move off the dialogue, the source also had some related vocabulary in, like, a review section.
Ah, yes. Some useful terms for this kind of workplace discussion.
What were they?
Okay, so recruit. The source defines that simply as hire, to hire someone.
Recruit, hire. Got it.
Then overworked. Pretty straightforward. Working too much.
Feeling that one.
Then short-staffed, defined as not having enough people. Very similar to the understaffed the boss mentioned earlier.
Right. Same basic idea.
And on the money side again,
Huh.
cut costs means reduce spending.
Like Tony was trying to do with the intern idea.
Exactly. And the opposite of short-staffed, overstaffed, having too many employees for the work available.
Okay, so those terms give a bit more vocabulary around managing people and budgets.
Yeah, expands the toolkit for these kinds of conversations.
All right. So just to recap, we've walked through this dialogue. We saw how Tony asked for help, got refused due to resources, staffing, and that tricky phrase, the timing is just not right.
Uh-huh.
Then he proposed an intern using idioms like, take some of the weight off my shoulders and give me a hand, while also focusing on keeping costs down.
Right, hitting those key points. And
Yeah.
we saw how the source explains the role and perception of interns, the good and the sometimes, well, less good.
And we explored the source's specific speculation about why Tony was surprised when Adam showed up focusing on that potential gender expectation.
These are all, really practical bits of language and dynamics you might actually encounter.
Definitely. Understanding these nuances, like what timing isn't right, really means in context or different ways to ask for help, it improves communication.
Absolutely. It's not just knowing the words, but how they're used.
And hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a quick but solid handle on this specific scenario and the language used. That's always the goal here.
And, that final point about Tony's surprise, the source's interpretation of it, it does raise a broader question, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you think about our own expectations. When we ask for help, what are we picturing?
Yeah, like, are we expecting help to look a certain way?
Yeah.
Or come from a certain type of person? The source hinted Tony might have had a gender expectation.
Right. But beyond gender, how often might our preconceived ideas about what kind of help we need or who should be giving it? How often might that make us surprised or maybe even a bit resistant when the actual help that arrives looks different?
That's a fascinating thought. Sometimes the support we get isn't exactly what we envisioned, but it might be exactly what we need.
Definitely something to chew on next time you find yourself asking for or receiving a helping hand.